Hello, everybody. Now, normally, I generally, if something I'm knowledgeable about, passionate about, deeply interested in, I'll sound off on something relatively recent after it came out. Late Friday, the M&M company, here's the thing. I don't talk about stupid shit that I don't care about, unless I have, a point for it, and even then, I'll wait until, other more credible people talk about it at this point. But even I have to admit, I saw a Tucker Carlson segment on the new and improved M&Ms. I understand that people in this country are very concerned about things like cancel culture, and they're concerned about things like, awokeness and all this. I just want to state for the record that in the tyranny of the left, I just want to say for the record, leftists like myself want healthcare, a functioning social welfare state that actually lifts people out of poverty, less wars, less corruption, no corruption, honestly, the end of a oligarchy in America. These are, I think these are generally agreed upon by most Americans. We don't really care about sexy chocolate animation characters. And I feel like conservative corporate media is sort of at the point, there's various points throughout the year where they're kind of stretching. They're reaching for things to be outraged about, to point at here, look, the left is trying to be of this tyranny. And this is one of the scenarios where they kind of weren't able to get something that isn't stupid. This is one, Tucker Carlson did however long of a segment on how the brown and green M&Ms not being as sexy is a bad thing, when calling it plain and frumpy, when I gotta be frank with you, I can't think why anybody would really give a shit. On a personal note, would I buy M&Ms more if they was more sexy? Not really. M&Ms are kind of a decent product on their own. I think this is what the M&M rebranding and stuff of that nature is sort of corporate America attempting to attract neoliberals, shitlibs, woke scolds, just the general mass of center-left people who don't really give a shit about, the solutions to economic problems, but care about posturing and, being a good little liberal. Which, don't get me wrong, we might agree on certain policies as far as as far as social issues are concerned, but they're functionally the group of people that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about when he said the greatest obstacle to equality is not the white racist, but the white moderate who would rather have order than go through than who would rather prioritize order than justice, that say, I agree with you and I support you, but I don't want blank because it's going to make things uncomfortable. And that's kind of what we have here. A lot of corporate America, frankly, does a lot of posturing. A lot of posturing about diversity and inclusion and all these things, but what these are all well and good, but there's always going to be a black, Hispanic, Asian, trans, LGBTQ, non-binary, insert whatever you want, person that they can point at, like, we put this person on our leadership, we're having diversity training, we're having X and Y and Z. All of that is well and good. It doesn't change the fact that, at least in the company I work for, you know, my boss is a person of color. My boss's boss is not. In maybe another department they are, but you go far enough up the corporate ladder, doesn't change. And the fact of the matter is that it gets back to my point with the M&Ms. This is all just posturing. Actually changing the demographics of one sec, a fucking siren. Sorry about that, folks. Functionally, what I'm talking about here is that the diversity thing's not going to change unless there's active change over the course of multiple decades. We're not going to see a change overnight. And more importantly, these companies are not interested in the financial and economic changes that would materially affect Americans' lives. They talk about these diversity things because it's something that some dickhead can put on his resume saying, hey, I hired this person for this company, you know, to fill out a balance sheet of just like trainings and stuff to like, because the fact of the matter is Nike stock went through the roof when they did the Colin Kaepernick campaign. You know, the majority of Americans, you know, care about issues like that. And their wallets show. The problem is that these they like I said before, they're not supporting the actual economic changes that would materially affect people's lives. They're not supporting higher taxes. They're not supporting, you know, higher wages. A lot of these places either don't make their things in America, and if they do, they are in non-union factories. They're just doing everything in their power to make it so they don't have to pay a livable wage to people. Many Nikes were made by Uyghurs. So was some of Apple's products. You know, so it goes so these companies just don't care. You know, at the end of the day, there might be a handful of companies that, you know, reinvest in their workers and care about their workers. I think about maybe Costco being a okay example of that. I'd say maybe Chick-fil-A too, but they're kind of their treatment of not their treatment, their where they put their money and their general treatment of their LGBTQ workers. Kind of, to me, kind of puts them in like the shit category a little bit, but I digress. At the end of the day, I think this is just a kind of a stretch story that the conservative outrage machine has picked as the thing of the week that they're going to be angry at and fearmonger and use to get certain groups of the American people up in arms and angry and worried about a woketivist takeover that will never fucking happen. Tucker Carlson's a fucking dick. Why do people? And this is the last thing I will say before I wrap this episode up. Tucker Carlson is a multimillionaire. Tucker Carlson is vaccinated. Tucker Carlson followed the vaccine mandate at Fox, and literally thanked Hunter Biden recently for a recommendation letter to get his son into what the fuck was it? Some bourgeoisie rich school. Tucker Carlson is one of them. He just plays one of us on TV. And I disagree with the vast majority of his beliefs, even the few times he speaks truth to power. But need I remind you that when that Swedish economist went and spoke at, I believe it was the G20, possibly, where he basically said, hey, y'all need to pay more taxes, damn donations, more taxes, and he went on Tucker Carlson and basically said, you're part of the problem. You have a $3 million salary. And then Tucker Carlson just didn't play the interview and just cussed him out nonstop, and it was pathetic. Manufacturing consent, y'all. Manufacturing consent.